The wedding day was celebrated with grand smiles and glistening lights. To the world it looked perfect, but beneath the heavy golden decorations and polite bows, you and Jungkook were strangers bound by a contract neither of you had chosen. He had no intention of marrying, but his parents never bent before his refusals. You, quiet, simple, obedient, had accepted your family's decision because fighting against them had never been an option. That night, when the house finally fell quiet, you found yourself standing in your new bedroom. Jungkook, still in his black suit, was unbuttoning his cufflinks. "You can use the bed," he said flatly, his eyes on the floor. "I'll take the couch." You blinked. His tone wasn't harsh, but there was a distance you could already feel. "That's not necessary. We can share the room. It's big enough." He only nodded once and didn't reply further. That was their first conversation as husband and wife. The next morning, you followed the scent of soup into the dining hall. His parents greeted you warmly. "Wine, come sit," his mother said with a smile that reminded you of comfort you had rarely known. "Good morning," you greeted, bowing politely. His father chuckled. "No need to bow all the time, child. You are our daughter now." Their warmth made you feel strangely alive. You smiled, genuinely this time, and sat down. Across the table, Jungkook ate silently. His gaze was fixed on his plate. His mother scolded gently. "Jungkook, won't you at least ask your wife how she slept?" He glanced up, startled. "Oh, did you sleep well?" You met his gaze and answered softly, "Yes, thank you." Then silence returned. Over the next few weeks, you never once demanded his attention. Instead, you showed your affection in ways he never noticed. At night, when he returned late, you left a glass of warm water by his desk. When he threw his coat aside, you hung it neatly. When his tie lay forgotten, you placed it near his watch for the morning. One night, you asked quietly when he came home at midnight, "Have you eaten?" "I'll eat later," he muttered, eyes still glued to his documents. "All right," you whispered, setting food on the table anyway. He never touched it, but he still did it the next day. One evening, as you helped set the table, his mother touched your wrist softly and drew you aside. "Vienna," she said, her voice warm but careful. "Don't feel disheartened." You blinked, a little surprised. "Disheartened?" She gave you a knowing smile, the kind only a mother could wear. "I see the way your eyes follow him, and how they dim when he doesn't meet them. My son," she sighed lightly, glancing toward the study room. "He's always been like this. He keeps things locked inside. He doesn't show it, but he notices more than you think." You lowered your gaze, fiddling with the edge of your apron. I understand, mother. It's all right, I don't expect much." Her brows softened, but she didn't let go of your hand. "No, child, you deserve everything. Jungkook may act cold, but he isn't blind to you. He just doesn't know how to show his heart." You gave a small, polite smile, though your throat tightened. "Sometimes I wonder if he'll ever accept me." Her expression turned a little sad, as though she had witnessed the same flicker in your eyes countless times. She brushed your cheek lightly, motherly and tender. "Give him time, Wine. One day he'll surprise you." Later that night, as you passed by the study, you found him sitting under the dim lamp, papers scattered across the desk. His pen moved steadily, his face unreadable, not once glancing at you when you lingered at the door. You stood there quietly, heart tugging. His mother's words echoed in your mind. "One day he'll surprise you." And yet, watching him now, so far away, even when he was just a few steps across the room, you couldn't help but whisper to yourself, "Will he ever accept me?" The clock had struck past midnight, the quiet ticking blending with the soft rustle of pages. You had been waiting for him, book in hand, but somewhere between turning another chapter and fighting the heaviness in your eyes, you drifted off. Jungkook opened the door quietly, already prepared to see the usual, your lamp still on, a book clutched in your hands, but this time the sight stopped him cold. You had fallen asleep sitting up, your head tilted uncomfortably against the headboard, the book slipping halfway down your chest. Your lips were parted just slightly, breathing slow and even, and your hair had fallen into your face. For a long moment he didn't move. She waited for me again, even though I never asked her to. He swallowed hard, leaning against the door frame, arms crossed like he wanted to keep his distance. His first instinct was to ignore it, to tell himself it didn't matter, to walk to the side of the bed and pretend he didn't see you. That was easier and that was safer. But his eyes wouldn't leave you. There was something about your face in sleep, unguarded, soft, almost childlike, that pierced through the walls he had so carefully built. His chest tightened painfully, a feeling he didn't want to name. He stepped closer slowly as though each step was a decision he might regret. His hand hovered in the air, uncertain, before he finally reached forward to take the book from your chest. His fingers brushed against yours slightly, and you stirred just a little, sighing in your sleep. That small sound nearly unraveled him. Vian, he whispered, his voice so low it was barely audible. He stared at you for a long time as though memorizing the curve of your cheek, the way your lashes rested on your skin. He clenched his jaw. Why does it feel so hard to show her what I feel? Why can't I just... He reached out again, hesitated, then finally adjusted the pillow behind you, carefully guiding your head to rest more comfortably. For the first time, he let his hand linger, brushing a strand of hair away from your face. His thumb ghosted over your temple before he pulled back sharply, as though burned. His heart was racing. The innocence of your sleeping face, the quiet patience you gave him without complaint, the way you still cared even when he gave you so little in return, it was melting something inside him that he had buried for far too long. Jungkook sat at the edge of the bed, elbow on his knees, staring at the floor. He ran a hand down his face, torn between holding back and letting go. You deserve more than this, he muttered under his breath, glancing back at you, his lips pressed into a thin line, his chest rising and falling heavily, and for the first time he wondered not if he could love you, but if he could keep pretending he didn't already. Days blended into months. The John household was warm. His parents treated you like their own daughter. They laughed with you, asked for your opinions, even scolded Jungkook lightly if he ignored you too much. And though you tried not to, you started to feel alive here. But your husband remained the same. One night, you fell asleep on the couch waiting for him. When Jungkook came home and saw you curled up, the TV flickering faint light across your face, something inside him paused. He walked closer, his usual cold mask faltering. Slowly, he picked up a blanket and draped it over you. For a moment, his hand hovered above your hair, tempted to touch, but he pulled back quickly. The next morning he left early again without a word, but the memory of your peaceful face stayed with him at work, distracting him during meetings. Jungkook began to notice little things he had overlooked before, the way you hummed softly while cooking, the way you tucked your hair behind your ear when you were reading, the way his parents laughed more when you were around. At the dinner table one night, his father cracked a joke and you laughed. Soft, bright, Jungkook found himself staring. His chopsticks froze mid-air. Jungkook? His mother called, snapping him out of it. He shook his head quickly, embarrassed. Nothing. But something was changing. You, on the other hand, had begun thinking differently. Yes, his parents treated you like gold. Yes, this house felt warmer than your own ever had. But you couldn't live like a shadow forever. You didn't want him to feel like you trapped him in a loveless marriage. That night, staring at the ceiling, you whispered to yourself, maybe it's better if I talk to him and leave. The distance between you both remained, but Jungkook's eyes had begun to soften in ways he himself didn't notice. One cold morning, you placed a scarf on the table before he left for work. It's windy today, wear this. You said softly. He blinked, staring at the scarf. You don't need to, I know. You interrupted with a faint smile, but I want to. For the first time, Jungkook didn't argue. He wrapped it around his neck, and all day he thought of the warmth lingering in the fabric. At night, he returned home earlier than usual. You were sitting with his mother, laughing as she taught you an old family recipe. Jungkook stood by the doorway silently watching. His mother noticed and teased. Look at you staring. Do you even realize how lucky you are? Mother, he muttered, flustered, walking away quickly, but his ears burned red. The soft crack of the door made you look up from the book in your lap. Jungkook stepped inside quietly, his hand still on the doorknob, as though he wasn't sure he should enter at all. His eyes flickered to you, then away, and he crossed the room with the same restrained grace he always carried, but something was different tonight. He didn't immediately head to his side of the room. Instead, he paused near the edge of the bed, his hands slipping into his pockets, his shoulders tense as if he were fighting with himself. You closed your book gently, placing it on the nightstand. Do you want to tell me something? You asked softly, watching the hesitation on his face. His gaze snapped to you, surprised, caught off guard before darting away again. He inhaled deeply, like he needed the courage to push out words that weren't natural to him. I. He stopped, his throat working. For a long second. It seemed he might change his mind, but then his eyes met yours again, and something in them softened, as if seeing your patience gave him the push he needed. There's a company gala next week, he finally said. It's important. All the board members will be there. He hesitated, then added slower, almost careful. I want you to come with me. Your eyes widened slightly. Of all the things you had expected, that wasn't it. Me? You asked gently. Yes. His jaw tightened, but his eyes didn't leave yours now. I want them to see you with me. There was no arrogance in the way he said it. It wasn't the cold command of a CEO. It was something else entirely. Something closer to a request, something closer to vulnerability. Warmth spread in your chest. For months you had wondered if he would ever acknowledge you beyond the walls of this house, if he would ever let the world know that you mattered to him. And now this, his hesitation, his careful words, was more than just an invitation. It was his first step toward acceptance. You gave him a small smile. All right, I'll come with you. For a moment, his expression didn't change, but then you saw it, the smallest shift, the slightest curve of his lips, barely there but enough to make your heart skip. Thank you, he murmured, almost as though the words were foreign to him, but sincere. As he turned to his side of the bed, you whispered, Jungkook. He glanced back. I'm glad you asked me. This time he didn't look away so quickly. His gaze lingered, softer, and though he said nothing, the silence between you felt different. For the first time, you felt that maybe, just maybe, the walls around him were beginning to crack. The house was unusually quiet that evening, the hum of preparation of the gala lingering in the air. Jungkook had been fastening the cufflinks of his black suit when he heard the soft click of heels against the marble floor. He looked up. You stood by the staircase, adjusting the delicate strap of your gown, the satin fabric falling around you like water. You weren't overly adorned, no glittering diamonds or extravagant hairstyle. Just simple elegance, subtle makeup, a pair of earrings that caught the light, but to him you looked unreal, like the world had stopped to frame you in that moment. For a man who never let emotions show on his face, Jungkook suddenly found himself betrayed by the silence that followed. His throat tightened, his chest stilled, and for a heartbeat he forgot to breathe. He had always known you were beautiful, but tonight it was different. It wasn't just beauty, it was grace, innocence, quiet strength. The way you held yourself, the softness in your eyes when they met his, the faint nervousness in your smile, it all hit him at once, melting through the cold armor he had carried for so long. His gaze lingered longer than he realized. He tried to look away, but his eyes refused to obey. They traced the curve of your face, the fall of your hair, the way the dress seemed made for you. And underneath it all, he remembered the countless moments you had cared for him, waited patiently, never asking for more. Something in his chest ached, raw, unfamiliar. You cleared your throat gently, your lips curving into the faintest, uncertain smile. Is this alright? You asked, voice almost shy. Jungkook's jaw clenched, his hands tightening at his sides. He wanted to say something, anything, but words tangled in his throat. Instead, his eyes softened in a way you had never seen before. Finally, he managed a low reply, rougher than he intended. You look perfect. The words slipped out before he could stop them, and he quickly averted his gaze, pretending to adjust his cuff again. But his heart was racing louder than the ticking clock in the hall. For the first time since your marriage, Jungkook didn't just see you, he felt you. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and soft music, a sea of elegant gowns and tailored suits. Jungkook walked in with you at his side, his hand hovering near yours, though he hadn't yet taken it. People turned almost instantly, first to him, the powerful CEO, who rarely brought anyone personal into public spaces, then to you. Conversations hushed for a second, then swelled again with murmurs. Eyes followed you and you felt their weight, but you carried yourself with calm poise, your steps steady and confident. Jungkook glanced at you from the corner of his eye. He had expected you to be shy, reserved, to shrink under the scrutiny of so many influential faces, but you greeted those who approached with a warm smile, bowing politely, your voice gentle. Mrs. John, one of the older board members' wives, said warmly, "It's such a pleasure to finally meet you. You are even lovelier than we imagined." He blushed softly but replied, "Thank you. I've heard so much about this company. It's an honor to be here tonight." The woman's face lit up, clearly charmed by her humility. Later, when Jungkook was briefly pulled into a conversation with a group of directors, he kept catching sight of you across the room. You weren't clinging to him nervously as some spouses did. You were standing tall, speaking with others, listening intently, your eyes bright. Laughter followed you more than once, and everywhere you went, people seemed to soften. And then the comments began. "John, you are lucky man," one of the senior manager told him with a grin. "Not only is your wife beautiful, but she's intelligent and graceful. She carries herself like she's been part of this world forever." Another added, chuckling. "Finally, someone who can balance your coldness with warmth." Jungkook didn't respond immediately. He only sipped his drink, eyes fixed on you from across the room as you leaned slightly to listen to another woman speaking, nodding with that quiet sincerity that had slowly been breaking through his walls. Lucky. The word echoed in his mind, a strange tug in his chest. He had never thought of marriage as luck, only as an obligation forced upon him. But tonight, with the way you shone in a room full of powerful people holding your own effortlessly, he felt something new take root. When you returned to his side, smiling softly, Jungkook's hand moved almost on instinct. His fingers brushed yours, hesitant at first, before he laced them together fully. You glanced at him surprised, but his expression was unreadable. Only the tightening of his grip betrayed him, protective and grounding, as if he was silently telling the entire room, "She's mine." And for the rest of the evening, Jungkook didn't let go. The car ride home was quiet at first, the soft hum of the engine filling the space. City lights flickered past the windows, their glow washing over your face in fleeting colors. You rested your hands in your lap, still a little overwhelmed by the evening. Beside you, Jungkook sat rigid at first, staring out the window, but his hand was still over yours, steady and firm, as if he had forgotten he was holding it. After a long silence, you finally turned toward him, your voice gentle. "You didn't have to hold my hand the entire night, you know." His eyes flicked to you, and for once there was no coldness in them, just something softer and deeper. "I'm sorry," he said simply, his voice low, almost rough. For a moment you didn't speak. The car turned down a quieter street, the noise of the gala left behind. Finally, Jungkook exhaled, leaning back against the seat, his jaw working as if he was struggling with words. You, he paused, eyes fixed ahead. You were incredible tonight. You blinked, taken aback. Me? Yes. His gaze finally met yours, unwavering now. Everyone noticed you, the way you carried yourself, the way you spoke. They couldn't stop talking about you. His lips pressed together for a moment before he added quieter. Neither could I. The confession hung in the air, heavier than the city around you. You smiled softly, lowering your gaze. I only did what I thought was right. I just wanted to not make things difficult for you. Jungkook's hand tightened slightly around yours, his thumb brushing over your skin unconsciously. He studied you the way your lashes lowered, the calm steadiness you always carried, the quiet strength that had been you since the very beginning. You are not difficult. You make things easier even when I don't deserve it. Your chest warmed, eyes stinging unexpectedly. You had waited so long for even a hint of his walls breaking, and now, sitting in the back of a silent car, you finally saw them crack. When you reached home, Jungkook surprised you again. He got out first, then extended his hand toward you, not out of obligation, not out of habit, but willingly. You placed your hand in his and he guided you inside. His mother's words came back to you. One day he'll surprise you. And tonight he truly had, for the first time since your marriage. You felt not just like his wife in name, but like someone he was learning, slowly, painfully, but surely to cherish. The door clicked softly and Jungkook entered. He had loosened his tie, his hair slightly mushed, the sharp lines of his suit softened by the late hour. He paused when he saw you sitting there, almost as if he could sense the weight in the air. For a while he didn't speak. He lingered by the dresser, fiddling with his watch, clearly hesitating. His eyes flickered to you. You broke the silence first, Jungkook. You whispered, your voice steady but quiet. He looked up instantly, eyes locking with yours. What is it? You swallowed, forcing the words past your lips. I was planning to leave. The stillness that followed was deafening. His face didn't move at first, no flicker of surprise, no anger, nothing. But then his jaw tightened and his hands curled slightly against the dresser. Leave? He repeated, his voice low, rougher than you had imagined. You nodded, though your eyes stung. I was thinking about it for a while. I thought maybe it was better for you. You never asked for this marriage, and I didn't want you to feel trapped. Your parents, they treat me better than my own ever did. That's the only reason I stayed so long. But you hesitated, lowering your gaze. You deserve freedom, and I deserve someone who doesn't look past me every day. For a moment, silence stretched again. You half expected him to let it go, to simply nod and agree, as cold as he had always been, but then you heard it. The uneven breath he took. When you looked up, his eyes were fixed on you, dark and burning with something you hadn't seen before. He took a step forward, then another, until he stood right in front of you. You think I don't see you? His voice shook, barely controlled. That I don't notice the way you smile at my parents, or the way you sit quietly when I come home late, pretending you are not waiting for me. You think I don't feel it every time you care for me when I have given you nothing in return? Your lips parted, stunned by the rawness in his words. Jungkook knelt down in front of you then, his hand reaching for yours, hesitant, but firm when he finally held it. His thumb brushed over your knuckles, trembling slightly. I was afraid, he admitted, his voice breaking softer now. Afraid to let you in, afraid that if I did, I would lose the control I have always lived by. But tonight, seeing you, hearing everyone say I was lucky, they are right, I am lucky. Too lucky. And the thought of you leaving? His words faltered, his jaw clenching again. I can't let that happen. Tears welled in your eyes, blurring his face. Jungkook, he squeezed your hand tighter, leaning closer. Stay, not for my parents, not because you have no place else to go. Stay because I need you, because I. He stopped, his breath shaky before finally whispering the words like a vow. Because I'm starting to love you. The room fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was warm, filled with the quiet thrum of hearts beating in sync. Your tears slipped free, but you smiled through them, your fingers curling around his. For the first time since your marriage, you felt the walls between you crumble completely. And as Jungkook leaned forward, pressing his forehead gently against yours, his voice was barely a whisper. Don't leave me.